The French Revolution, fall of the Bastille, 1989, Paris, the summer of 1789, a city on edge, boiling with hunger, rage, and whispers of rebellion. Imagine narrow cobblestone streets filled with desperate crowds, eyes burning with fury at kings and nobles who lived in unimaginable luxury. And at the center of it all stood a grim fortress, the Bastille, a symbol of tyranny, a symbol of fear. But no one could have predicted that this fortress would soon become the spark that set fire to an entire world. France in the late 18th century was a kingdom of contradictions. The Palace of Versailles glistened with gold, while peasants in the countryside starved, their bellies empty after years of famine. Bread, the very food of life, had become so expensive that riots broke out daily. King Louis XVI and his queen, Marie Antoinette, seemed distant, detached from the suffering of their people. Rumors spread, "Let them eat cake," though perhaps she never said it. The words fueled the rage of the hungry. Meanwhile, in Paris, voices of change rose louder. Intellectuals, philosophers, revolutionaries, they spoke of liberty, equality, fraternity. The Enlightenment had planted its seeds, and now the storm was ready to break. The tension builds. In early July 1789, the National Assembly declared itself the voice of the people. But Louis XVI, fearing the loss of his absolute power, sent thousands of royal troops toward Paris. The citizens panicked. "The king means to crush us," they whispered. On July 13th, mobs stormed armories, seizing weapons. Muskets were found. Powder was stolen. But without gunpowder, the weapons were useless. And everyone knew where the powder was kept: inside the Bastille. The storming of the Bastille, July 14th, 1789. The day that would echo through history. At dawn, a sea of Parisians gathered around the Bastille. The fortress loomed above them, with thick stone walls, cannons mounted on its towers, and a garrison of soldiers inside. But the crowd was unstoppable. They shouted, demanded the powder. Negotiations dragged on. Hours passed. The tension became unbearable. And then, a shot rang out. Nobody knows who fired first, but suddenly chaos erupted. The mob surged forward, muskets blazing, cannons firing into stone. Smoke choked the air. The clash lasted for hours, blood running through the gutters of Paris. Finally, by evening, the Bastille's gates were broken. The fortress had fallen, its commander captured and executed, his head carried on a pike through the streets. The symbolic victory. The Bastille was not just a prison, it was a symbol of royal oppression, of centuries of fear. Its fall was more than a military victory. It was the birth of a revolution. As news spread across France, peasants rose against their lords. Nobles fled the country. The old order was crumbling, and for the first time, ordinary people felt the power of their own hands. The storming of the Bastille lit the flame of the French Revolution. Within weeks, the Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen was proclaimed. It declared that all men were equal under the law, that sovereignty belonged not to the king, but to the people. But revolutions are never clean. The years ahead would be filled with turmoil, kings executed, reigns of terror, and rivers of blood. Yet out of this chaos, the modern world was born. Ideas of liberty and democracy that continue to shape nations today. And so, the fall of the Bastille was not just the fall of a fortress, it was the fall of an old world. A day when the powerless rose against the powerful, a day when history itself changed course. From the ruins of stone and blood, a new era began. But here's the question: was the French Revolution truly a triumph of freedom? Or did it simply trade one form of tyranny for another?